So this is going to be the starting of the panel discussion. I want to set a little bit of a background to this. To craft some meaningful conversations, we have conducted a survey like Kishore had said. We have reached out to corporates, including reality developers, property management consultants, NGOs in the sustainability space to understand what are their areas of priority. We were just not looking at putting together a panel discussion, but instead we wanted to have discussions that make sense to both the corporates and the startups. So the discussions now are going to be centered around the focus areas that we got as a feedback. Thank you. So these are going to be the spotlight areas that we will be having conversations on now. Now, there's a little bit that I want to tell about how this panel discussion is slightly different from the normal panel discussions that we have seen. When we reached out to the startups, the first question that the startups asked us is, do we have to pitch? So that's where we wanted to eliminate that pitch and the stress factor. So we said, no, this is not going to be a pitch, but you are going to be involved in a conversation with the corporates on stage. So this is going to be relaxed, stress-free environment. So that's the differentiating factor for the Catalyst panel discussion. So to make sure that we have the right conversations, we also did a little bit of homework in curating the startups that are going to be a part of the panel here. This doesn't mean, like Kishore said, that the others are not something that they should be here, but in a relative game, we felt we will be able to have a meaningful conversations with the startups that are going to be here now. So you can also see the kind of criteria that we have taken up while we curated. Now this, Bipin was very clear that we should inform this to the startups who have all applied so that they understand, they also introspect to see, for future what they could do better. So on that note, I invite panel 1 to please come on stage. Prashanth Nandella, President and COO Firstsource, Vice President HYSEA, ESG Intervention Leader, and the moderator for panel 1. So we have 2 panel discussions actually. For ease of conversation and giving an opportunity for all these startups, we are doing 2 panels. Each panel will last for 45 minutes, where 20 minutes is exclusively catered for conversations. So the first panel, may I invite Dr. Prafulla Agarwal, founder, CEO, Tokere, please. Indrajit Shah, India ESG lead, CBRE. Siva Tekumudi, founder and CEO, Facillizence. Mahesh Siripurapu, founder and managing director, Needa Green Energy. Anubhav Saxena, DGM, ESG and Sustainability, Decarbonization Data Analytics from Raheja Group. Abdul Karim, Operations Executive, Bio Reform. And Dr. Merle Fernandes is Director, LVPEI.
Thank you, Shanti. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you for all the participants in this room. Ramreddy Garu for your presence here, MSR and the entire team, and all the team who's worked together tirelessly over the last 2 weeks to sort of curate this program, get this to where it is. I'm honored to be here to sort of spend some time. The way we'll go to do this is to sort of, I want to take a few minutes to bring in all of y'all to this conversation and spend a few minutes in this interesting topic in terms of what are we trying to do from either solid waste management, clean energy, net neutrality, carbon credits. How do you sort of work together to drive a sustainable environment for future? With that in mind, I wanted to take a minute to sort of, the guests are already invited and we know who are here, but I'll go round robin to sort of, get your insight into the conversation. Dr. Prafulla, you've been here from a startup ecosystem. and you sort of had a couple of use cases that you've been dealing with to convert brown energy to green energy, and aspects around carbon trading and how you can get energy neutrality in the organization. So, while I go round robin, I wanted to get your sense in terms of this tech solution that you built through the blockchain, distributed ledger technology, and how you're using it to sort of drive this globally. It'll be nice to get a sense from you, your mission, your passion, and why this idea, and how do you feel that is going to make a difference to our work environments?
Okay, good evening, everybody. I think on the first note I would like to start is thank you, Ramireddy Garu. You've made a very nice statement that unless we don't have a business experience working as a corporate, as an employee, how do we make sure our startup really aligns to what we bring to the table? I'm a very standout product every time I walk into any startup ecosystems. They look at me, I brought my daughter or my son because I don't look the 20-plus-year-old, a lot of startup owners here. So thank you for recognizing my startup. And at 50, I'm as young as any new college graduate is. What I'm passionate about. Thank you. What I'm passionate about, and I think you can see Tokere, and it's a green heart that's beating. That's what we want to communicate, because sustainability, environment is not only a corporation's responsibility. Every community, each one of us have to make a difference. That's what propelled us, and that's what propelled my startup to say, let's kind of create a grassroots level momentum to adopt clean energy. Now, how do we do that? And that's what we're solving using blockchain technology, where we're able to fractionalize renewable energy and various attributes that it has, like your energy credits, which individual households can adopt, which you can do it for your societies, for your offices, for your events, for your birthday parties, for your team events, anywhere you can adopt it. There's a question that I always face is, but the credit is an offset, so it doesn't sound too good. But let me just say this, we all live in cities like Hyderabad. I'm coming from Bangalore. We get drowned and marooned every year these days. And we do not think twice if that coracle which has come to take me to a safe place, is it made of the global standards of fiber and all that? Any coracle to get us out is welcome at that stage. Environmentally, that's where we are today. So what we are doing is working across the value chain of renewable energy. We are in discussions at the DISCOM levels to say, what they procure as a renewable energy as mandatory obligations, start creating an identity for it so that that renewable energy can be still delivered in the hands of end users. So it can be at a cost, I'm not getting into the commercials there, but a blockchain allows that identity creation from generation to consumption. And that's going to revolutionize how each of us will consume renewable energy going forward. I'll end with a very small anecdote. When I was presenting this to the MSc forum in Uttar Pradesh, I had a small scale exporter from Moradabad who exports brass artifacts. He said, ma'am, if I do this, can my son write it in his personal statement as his environment contribution, because he's applying for universities in the US. So that's the kind of adoption that we're seeing. And we're making it very, very simple, not only for adoption, even for your proof. And while we use blockchain, that's at the back end. Let's not complicate it for end users. You see a QR code there. I have a permission from that client right now. You can just scan on it. It'll give you the proof where this particular organization is consuming its renewable energy from. So I will end on that note. Our vision is very simple. We want every heart to beat green. It's each one's responsibility. Adopt renewable energy directly or indirectly, it doesn't matter, because just because we want to only set up power plants, we're consuming a lot of our land, and that's not sustainable either. So let's not be tilted too much on one side, but take a holistic view. And all the best to all of us that we leave this place a better place. And in conclusion, somebody asked me, this is a 20-25-year journey. When Maggie came, none of us liked that flavors. But today it's become a meal. When Kellogg's came, they said, we're not for this generation. So Tokere is not being built for just this generation. We're talking Tokere for the next 20 years. And that's our vision. Thank you.
Awesome. Brilliant, Doctor. So I'm assuming we can, today sitting here, can get access to convert our brown power to green power by tokenized solution, right?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Maybe we should do that, right, at the end of this workshop to show our commitment to clean energy in terms of what we're doing from an organization standpoint. Brilliant. So just one thing teeing up from there before I go to the next panelist here is, this provides access globally. You are able to provide identity across global producers of green energy, or is it localized to India currently?
We're delivering that for global producers, distributors, and consumers. You
Brilliant.
Could be anywhere in that cycle.
Awesome. That's good, right? So we don't need to use our land to produce. We can always consume from outside. Fantastic.
Absolutely not.
Fantastic. Thank you. Brilliant. Indrajit, over to you. You've been on this advisory space for a while, dabbling across a variety of things. So I wanted to get you in to get a sense on, as a consultant, talking to different stakeholders, working with a real estate company, talking to their clients, corporates, industries, policies. What's your sense on, the focus and the intent on carbon neutrality, carbon credits and net neutrality? Obviously, you have a larger perspective. And how does policy needs to change, sort of make sure that people are doing this, right? So when people talk to me, I said purpose is more important than anything. So obviously it all starts with us being very purposeful in terms of what we want to do and make sure that we're making this world a safer place to live in. Outside of that, there's a lot goes into, like Ramreddy Garu said, in terms of policy, frameworks, awareness, willingness, access to sort of get this going. So what's your sense on how do we sort of step up from here and take a step change, what's an incremental change?
Thanks for that, Prashanth. I'd just like to start off with a little bit of perspective about us as a country, right? We are already the most populous, and there was a report which said the real estate sector is going to overtake the agriculture sector in terms of being the largest employer in the country in the next few years. In India, we put out around 40 to 45 million square feet of real estate space every year. Now, what connects these different aspects is about magnitude. And this is what I would like to talk about, for the next couple of minutes, is when, all the startups out there, when you look at opportunity, okay, one thing to realize is if you are doing business in India, there is volume. So focus on understanding what are the gaps in this industry and how you can address those through technology, through human understanding, right? I'll give you some specific examples, right? Now, one of the things that, that I saw mentioned here, technologies around energy, water, and waste, right? One of the key challenges that we see in this industry is the fact that developers build, then they sell, right? And after they sell, the people who buy may not have the best understanding of how the building was built, how it is to be run, and how they need to repair it. So a huge opportunity is to look at the as-a-service model. Can you look at an opportunity where once the builders have built, there are models where they continue to share that information with the residents so that they can benefit from that understanding of the building? And in turn, the developers could actually look at IoT solutions, for example, to assess what is the level of wear and tear in the buildings and how they are to be maintained and charged for. Okay, I just wanted to give you this one example to show you that in one of the world's largest real estate markets, if you're able to bridge problems like this, This is what can really help us leapfrog into the future. In terms of what we are hearing from clients, right? All our clients want to be seen as industry leaders in the sustainability space, be it developers or be it occupiers. And the way to do that is to help them understand, because different clients will be on different parts of their sustainability journey in terms of maturity. So if you want to build solutions for either developers or occupiers in the real estate space, what you need to understand is where are they on their sustainability or ESG maturity journey. And then talk to these clients to understand what are their focus areas. That is where you'll realize that these are the gaps that you need to bridge. So start having these conversations on both sides of the table and try and assess where those gaps are. That's the message that I would like to leave you with, and start thinking upstream. A lot of the solutions that we see in energy, in water, in waste are downstream solutions. We have created systems, we have created problems, and then we are trying to mitigate those problems. Can you think upstream before those problems are created, when we are building the buildings, when we are thinking of occupying those buildings? Can we move those conversations upstream so that we don't make the mistakes in the first place? That's what I would like to leave this audience with. Over to you, Prashanth.
Thank you. That's very insightful, as always. So what's your thought, right? And you obviously help advise organizations in taking spaces, leasing spaces, maintain spaces, project management. How much of change management is still to be left to sort of make sure that people really believe in this and want to spend that extra buck at the beginning from a CapEx versus OpEx? Because if you fix it at a CapEx level, then you solve the variability at an OpEx level, right? People have to work through, and maybe there are ideas and thoughts there where we can find a differentiated commercial ecosystem that startups can work with to make that feasible. But what's your sense on that?
Well, to be very honest, we see a gamut of clients, and as I mentioned, on different parts of the journey. So you would have very mature clients who have done all the things that we talk about, in terms of doing low cost, no cost initiatives, doing CapEx based initiatives. If I take energy as an example, right, they would have done the baselining of the data. They would have identified what are the specific geographies that they want to look at. Within those geographies, what are the specific sites? In those sites, what are the specific initiatives? In those initiatives, energy, water, and waste, and then use that data to feed into where they want to be versus where they are and how much that is changing. So that's one end of the spectrum, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you've got companies who may have been in business, and there are variations of this, but just as a typical example, who may have been in business for a long time. But sustainability has not really been their focus for various reasons, right? Now, it's not to blame them, but it is to work with those companies then to help them understand how, while they are doing what they are doing, how can sustainability be incorporated into their business? And, these are often conversations which take time, right? Because one of the key things that I've realized in my career, as a sustainability professional, is this needs to be driven top-down, especially in corporations. If you want business, if you want buy-in for ESG, you need to make sure that the top guy is on your side. And that's where a lot of our conversations start, and where we start with small examples, with easy wins, because a lot of people understand when you see a tangible outcome. Right? So if you can show proof of concepts, around whatever business you are in, that is going to help the client understand in real terms, especially for clients who are early on in the maturity curve, what is in it for them from a business perspective and then from a social perspective. When I was doing my master's, one of my professors said something very, very interesting. He said, nobody buys a mobile phone because it's green. So please keep this in mind when you're designing your products and services. Yes, people want to be sustainable, but it needs to make sense from a commercial, technical perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll move on to Siva now, the startup from the organization, from Facillizence. So you just to this topic that, Indrajit and I were sparring a bit, you sort of build something in the downstream process to sort of look at how to optimize to data analytics and insight and technology. So give us your sense on what drove you to think about this idea, and how tech playing a role in sort of running the building operations in your construct. And what are some thoughts from your standpoint of what's getting you going in that space?
Thank you. And good evening to everybody. And then, thanks to HYSEA to having me over here. And my name is Siva. I'm a founder and then CEO of the company. So we are in the business of, automating commercial real estate space in terms of facilities management and then, energy and water and utility optimization. The decarbonization is kind of a natural extension to us. And if you really see that, the situation like, 40% of a commercial real estate space is responsible for 30% of the decarbonized, version. That's what, it is kind of, the more impact on the carbon, gases and all the things. With that, what happens is I just wanted to, show you that how we have transformed from the, automation to the decarbonization. What we have found is because we've been in the industry more than 5-6 years almost. Thanks to thanks to Ayodhya, the first pilot we have done on the, Ramki Cosmos, sir. I think thanks to you. And then we have done for a 3 months pilot on that. It's been almost, 3 years backstory and all the things. And we are in the, kind of, keeping the sensors and getting the, tons of data and processing it, and then we literally make how to automate the entire facilities management by removing the papers and keeping the data into the picture, which is a very challenging, because if you go down and sit with the basement of any huge 1 million square commercial real estate space, they have a day-to-day problems and they are least bothered about, sustainability. So you have a tough time to, push the sustainability story as a startup. And we need to literally sit with them and ask for what is their problems exactly. And their problems today is something like, how I can build the tenants. If I take a 1 million square feet having a 300 multiple office tenants, and then they have a day-to-day problem of raising an invoices, doing the bills and all the things. So we somehow gone there and then camped there. And then today we are managing more than 26 million square feet under our portfolio. That includes the major, portfolios like, Gaurav Builders, and we have 2 big hospital portfolios like, Ankura, and then even all the things. So what I'm trying to say is like, it is not easy way to getting out there in Indian scenarios of a decarbonization unless until you solve the today's use case problem. So we out there. In fact, the CBRE is awarded as a cool, top 5, decarb company in the 3 years back. So I have a connection for almost. And Phoenix, Avan is the second pilot we have done, sir, in the Oracle building. And we are working with the Marvin facilities managers, which they are into the T-Hub. So we have seen almost, 200 different portfolios of all companies that includes the schools, hospitals, malls, facility management teams, and all those things. We have more than, 500 million data points out there into my system. So now the challenge is how I can really utilize those points and create something out of it. That's what the Indian data analytics comes with. Facillizence is our brand name. What we call it is the facilities intelligence. So now what we are trying to do is, can I overlay the entire data to the BIM, that is the building information module, which predominantly they use it at a entry level of the buildings. I'm talking so much on the tech, maybe I'm trying to generalize it. Building information system is the one which normally every builder going to use it. It stops there at the end of that before handing over. So we put all the operational data over there and then extend the life for the next 30 years. So overall, what we are trying to do is how we can measure and calculate a carbon emission per square feet with my data and give back to the builder, hey, can you reduce your, the sizability of your chiller, which is oversized today. That way we can help builders. So we can say that facilities management, saying like it doesn't require to go and, do 5 things a day. You can do 3 times so that you can improve the productivity. So what happens is we are trying to connect multiple use cases of managing a large commercial buildings using a facility management software, but slowly getting there into the decarbonization. That's what we are trying to do there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wish you all the best. It's a very noble cause. I think I saw somewhere in the presentation that you're going to take, while you do all of this from a sustainability objective, you're also going to take 20% cost out to managing facilities, right? It's a win-win. Commercially, it works for everybody. So good luck for your venture. So just shifting tracks to somebody who's sort of helping saving lives, creating a better life to individuals, working in LVPEI, Dr. Merle. Obviously this is a vast institution which manages, I don't know how many thousands and lakhs of people on a daily basis. It's an institution in itself for good purpose, good cause. I know how they structure to sort of help provide free services to people who can't afford and all of that stuff. So clearly with this purpose that you have with research embedded, with services embedded, I wanted to get a sense on your sustainability objectives and how you think about sustainability and how you're implementing that in your space across all the facilities that you manage today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here. So LV Prasada Institute, as a lot of you may know, is a not-for-profit organization, and we are currently located in 284 centers across the 3 states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Orissa, as well as a small representation in Karnataka. So our start of trying to achieve sustainability was some years ago when we started with solar energy. And we started off in a small way. We are a not-for-profit organization, as I mentioned. And so everything that we do, even whatever investments that we make, we have to, at the end of the day, look at how are we going to provide service to somebody who cannot afford it. And it was with a very conscious mind that we decided to take this forward. The effort actually took off. I currently lead the Green LVPEI initiative in LVP, and that was about 2 years ago that we decided to go all out with a multi-pronged approach. So some of the things that we've started is investing in solar energy. To date, we've invested in about 1.5 megawatts of solar energy across our centers. I'll talk about the things that we've done and the challenges that we face. So when you look at solar energy, you realize that the amount of space that you have sometimes is a constraint. The government has got certain restrictions on the amount of energy that it actually provides, that you can actually use for solar. So we can actually use only about 80%. And in certain areas which are huge energy guzzlers, like for example in our tertiary centers located in the metros, the amount of space that we have and the amount of investment that we have to make for solar to provide that much amount of coverage is challenging. The other things that we've done, we've looked at rainwater harvesting, we've looked at trying to utilize more efficient sources of air conditioning. We use STPs and treat the water wherever we can, though we would like better solutions for that. But some of the innovative things that we've done are in developing an indigenous electronic medical record, which has done away with paper records, that was developed in-house and is used across all our centers. So even in a small vision center, we have an electronic form of documentation, which also helps us in our research. And we are continuing to innovate in this area. During the pandemic, because of the fact that our patients couldn't reach us, nor could we reach out to them, we developed an indigenous teleophthalmology software, which enabled us to connect with our patients who could not reach us. And that is something that we have been using. So that helps indirectly by reducing the carbon footprint in the sense that the patient does not have to come to see us. Though obviously if you have an eye ailment, you can't actually get treated over a computer screen or a mobile phone. But then that's another aspect. So we've tried to reduce some of the, the visits that a patient has to make with the teleophthalmology that we've set up. And we're looking at, other ways where we can try and utilize solid waste. So we have biomedical waste segregation it's mandatory in all hospitals. But then for the organic waste that's being generated, so there are systems that are available. I'm sure I'll meet a lot of people out here who will help us with the organic waste. But to make it very simple, whatever gardens we have, all the dry leaf that we collect from there is put in a pit. This is going to sound very crude. Put in a pit layered with soil. And after a couple of weeks, we have our own manure. So we generate 2,000 tons of manure for our gardens every quarter. And that's used across the centers. So these are just some of the initiatives. There are other things that we do as well, but I'll spare you that.
Brilliant. Are there any ideas in your mind that you're still pursuing going forward? And any suggestions to the startup ecosystem here, what they should start looking at?
So I wish that the cost of solar per kilowatt was cheaper. I don't know how we can bring that down. I mean, it would be really fantastic if we could get it. Within the state itself, I mean, if you have land and you can generate solar on that space, the government doesn't actually allow you to, use it somewhere else. So, then there are batteries which are very expensive. So if the cost of those batteries could come down, that would help us a great deal. But those are just some of the things.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Going back to our next startup, I wanted to get a perspective from Mahesh. Mahesh, we've been talking to Indrajit a little bit, and he said, we have to go more upstream than downstream. So clearly we know that tons of plastics is generated every day, every year. A lot of it never gets collected. It goes and pollutes our environment and nature, and you sort of looking at creating alternate sources of packaging that people can use to sort of drive things. So I wanted to bring you in to get your perspective of what's the mission of what you're trying to do, and how do you see you playing into creating a better sustainable future for us going forward?
Sure. Thanks, Prashanth, and good evening, everybody. And thank you, HYSEA, for inviting us here and making green energy and waste management a prime focus. So we are Needa Green Energy, started in 2016, and our team of technocrats, and our first product was oxyhydrogen gas generator. And we wanted to generate oxyhydrogen and use that as supplementary fuel in internal combustion and external combustion machines. We succeeded to some extent, and because of capital intensiveness, we shifted our focus onto converting plastic waste into fuel. So one of the reasons being, when we approached an industry or looked into the waste that industry is generating, mainly the chair manufacturing industry, right? The waste that is produced was almost equivalent to talcum powder, the granularity of the particles. So those guys did not have a solution, and they were just throwing that in water bodies or landfills, which cannot be separated at all. So, and we wanted to bring a solution mainly for industrial plastic waste to convert it to something reusable. And we are not good advocates of traditional pyrolysis systems for some reason, because they generate a lot of flue gases and heat into the environment. So we came up with a zero discharge closed loop batch process system in 2016, and started converting industrial plastic waste into reusable fuels like synthetic diesel, synthetic petrol, and synthetic kerosene. And we worked with few corporates to set up captive plants for them. And 2021, we shifted our focus onto continuous process system, because we always wanted to come out of batch process systems. And we succeeded big time in developing our own design in building a continuous process. Loop back means we generate our own fuel, which is consumed in the technology. So the production cost currently to produce 1 liter industrial oil from plastic waste is very, very less, almost 50% of what we get in the market. So we succeeded doing that. And the main product currently is industry oil that we are generating from both plastics from municipal solid waste and also industrial waste. And based on the applications, we also can use distillation techniques to convert industrial oil to high value products like transport grade fuels, N-octane, N-hexane, etc. So that is what we are doing. We have been vetted by many corporates like mainly cement industries, Birla, Dalmia, and many country executives and political authorities from different countries visited our plants, and then we could successfully present the technology and acquire some letter of intents. So that is what we are doing currently. And to answer to Prashanth's question, what is the vision, right? We see somewhere being a big contributor to sustainability goals of India 2030 in reducing the carbon footprint. So that is the goal that we are working towards.
Brilliant. Thank you. Wish you all the best for your lecture.
Thank you, Prashanth.
So now, bringing up Abhinav. Abhinav, you've been with Raheja. It's a large developer across multiple cities, and you run the sustainability and decarbonization program. Talk a little bit about how you're thinking about this, and how can the real estate space sort of be the lead anchor to sort of show the path that we really care about our environment and building something which is helping us for the future. Give some thoughts on that before I switch on to our next colleague.
Yeah. So we started the sustainability journey way back in 2008, in which we considered our first green certified building in. Currently also we are having very aggressive ESG targets, like scope 1, scope 2 need to be reduced by 42%. We are also under the process of disclosing the target for the net zero. Approximately by 2043, we are aiming to be a net zero. But in order to go for net zero, one has to take care of all the 3 emissions, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. We are currently doing fine in terms of scope 1 and scope 2. And approximately currently 16% of our energy is coming from the green sources, green power. But when we go further, that we want to become exceed more than 30-35%, we need to look on the scope 3 emissions. Scope 3 emissions currently, as a real estate developer, is one of the biggest challenge, I would say. First important challenge is the supply chain. A very complicated supply chain, you must be knowing, that the real estate companies are having. How to educate the entire supply chain in terms of ESG, that's another challenge. Then the next is waste. Waste is also one of the major challenges that we are facing right now. Good thing is that we have already banned the single use of plastic. We are, on some of the campuses are having bottling plants in which we are replacing the entire use of the plastic bottle with our own glass bottles. Then we are exploring further methods, how can we optimize and reduce the waste. Then another major issue related to scope 3 is the tenant energy consumption. That it will look like that why developers are not making green spaces and all those things. We are making green spaces since last 15 years, but another important aspect we want to understand is the end client who is going to occupy that space, whether they are ready for the new technologies, whether they are accepting the green solutions. Sometimes, just like for the green power, if we want to reduce our scope 3 emission, we also need to depend upon the green power. So tenants also need to go on the green power. Currently, you must be knowing that green power tariff is one of the easy way, in which the tenants also need to agree to pay additional money on the green tariff. But the fact is that hardly 10% of our tenants are getting ready for the green power tariff. So that is why we are encouraging the tenants to go into the green lease, in which we can clear all those things from the day one. So cultural behavior and cultural change is also important. Like sometimes the tenants are demanding platinum and very energy efficient solution, but they want to keep their AC temperature as 21 or 22 degrees centigrade. That can't be possible. So one way we are demanding green and simple solutions, they are not getting agreed to. They are just by their sales agreement or sales team document sheet. They have to do this much demand. In one way you are demanding everything green, but other day you are demanding also the demand load in such high value. So developer is which you are demanding, which you are going to build. So we also want to make further energy efficient offices, energy efficient solutions. So what we are trying to do right now, we are trying to develop a small experience centers or the small setups at every campus level, in which we can explore the innovative products. Otherwise, our tenants will not go directly to the innovative products or solution. So they will first like to experience those products. So that is why we are now in the process of creating such experience centers in which we can showcase these products will work in the large scale development. Then we are going further ahead for the implementing of those strategies.
Brilliant. Creating experience centers, awareness, so people can actually live by what they want to achieve is very important. Thank you, Abhinav, for your thoughts. So while I go to my next panelist, if there are any questions, please pass on to Radhika. She's going to capture that and probably bring it on board just to save some time because we have another panel right after this. Yeah, thank you. So, going, it was very informative, right? So now to another solid waste management idea that's come out, right? Abdul Karim and his young entrepreneurs who are doing something really fantastic in this space. So talk to a little bit about how you're thinking about your journey. I know you're trying to do something really cool in this space, but what's your business plan like, and how do you think you're going to make a difference? What help do you need to sort of get there, right? Give us a little bit of sense of your journey so far, your obstacles, how you sort of navigated them, what help can the industry at large and corporation at large and policy at large can help you to be successful.
Thank you, Prashanth, for that. Firstly, it was really inspiring to hear from Rami Reddy sir today. His words were really inspiring for us as a startup. And I'm really proud to be here and with the panel here talking with everyone. Being the youngest to be a part here. Certainly when we started our journey, it was with the vision of the Prime Minister. We heard him keeping the agenda for India, for making India plastic free for the year 2025. And that's where our team thought about how we as an individual, how we as a citizen of this country come forward and take this mission forward. That's the idea, and it's been 1.5 years, touching 2 years soon now. We started Bioreform. It's a manufacturing company. We manufacture bags which are made of corn, which were directly the alternative towards the plastic that we see around. So far, we can proudly say that we have replaced 50 lakh plus plastic bags with our greenie bags. We produce more than 1 lakh greenie bags each day and have climbed significantly into the B2B market. Whether it was, the small district of Andhra Pradesh till the most famous cafe of Hyderabad, or whether it was G Polarity, one of the oldest places in the market, to Country Chicken, who've started very early. So we've met a lot of people who were having the same vision of taking sustainability forward. While in addressing people, we heard from people telling that sustainability is not just it's not just an option what we see today, but it's more likely being a necessity of the hour that comes in forward. Being student entrepreneurs, we had a lot of challenges coming forward, whether it was addressing the market, whether it was dealing with how the clients would look it forward for. But eventually things ended up being on the route wherein we had the vision clear about making India plastic free. And ever since when we turn back behind wherein that day when the inauguration happened and then being here, it surprises me as a person itself that we've made it happen so far. But there was one quote that hit my mind that was there. That you never realize the worth of water until the well starts trying. So we also never get to understand truly it's just how sustainability is important for us until we get the most exposure about how the darkness that could eventually come up with. Noticing about corporates, one thing we saw is how the changes have started to come. We see that the companies have started adapting sustainable products when it comes to their companies. We've seen wood or bamboo being utilized as cutleries have been seen around. But we see there's a slow drop of plastics being utilized, the conventional plastic, right? We found out in our survey what we made that even a small company of let's say 50 size employee generate as much as 3,000 bags each month. And when you would want to take it forward and look for the bigger corporates could reach up to 1.5 million bags each month. And that's certainly an alarm and a point that let us realize as a players that the market's big, the vision is even bigger than that, right? People greater than products, greater than price is something that drives us truly, and taking the mission not just with India, not just the consumer market in India, but taking it forward to the globe, because we definitely would want to curate this example from made in India but for the globe is what the Prime Minister said. And truly to remark that point, we are looking forward for the most influential collaborations with people, because the experience that you get with everyone here is something that truly not just defines what we want to do in life, what we want to do for India more importantly, but how we could maybe create the best solution that is originating from India. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's very inspiring, and good luck for your venture of being a global player. Obviously, not just helping solve India's problem, but creating employment for tons of people. I appreciate that. So before, it was a good conversation, got in different perspectives. I had a few questions come up from the audience, so I thought I'll take the liberty to sort of talk to a few. One question is sort of about, are there any real estate developers in India who are interested to have upstream conversations to tackle the ESG performance initiatives, right, rather than working downstream? So maybe some thoughts, Indrajit, from you or Abhinav?
Let me be very honest. Upstream conversations are not easy, right? Because we as a society, and I dare say as a globe, we are used to doing things a certain way, and then when we find problems, finding solutions for that. What we are now discussing about upstream is about changing mindsets. And I'll take a cue from what Anubhav said earlier, is people want everything at the cost of nothing. And that's a difficult conversation. So what you need to do is try and understand what the pain point is and what the customer is willing to pay for it. Okay. Now, that's not a straight answer to your question, but possibly the only way you'll find out is by talking to clients. We are finding clients of late, developers who are willing to have some of these conversations. So, if that's some solace, then yes, there are opportunities that are opening up, but you'll only find out the level of interest when you start speaking to these clients.
Just want to add, this good thing is that the government is taking good initiatives. That you all must be knowing that all the listed companies, top 1,000 listed companies, has to disclose now BRSR report, Business Responsibility Sustainability Report. In one of that, now the next year it will go into be BRSR core. Under that, they have put they are putting more focus towards on the supply chain. So due to which the supplier, the developer like us, started now more interaction with our supply chain, supply vendors, and doing the regular exercise with our suppliers. We have made one supplier code of conduct, and like us, all the other leading developer who are into these top 50 or top 250 companies or top 1,000 companies, they are trying to educate the supply chain. So right now it's a good time, because recently this change has been started. Now from next year onwards, by default, all the top 10,000 companies have to go with via the BRSR route, in which they have to start talking to their supply chain. So this is a very correct time in which, if you want to enter into the business, because right now we are regularly discussing with the key suppliers, critical suppliers, the problem with the developers like us, how to categorize these vendors, how to categorize these suppliers. So we started first categorizing them in terms of tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, tier 3 suppliers, critical suppliers. Then we try to bring these critical suppliers into a single room and educate them in terms of ESG. How can they, so we are giving them, like the government is giving us the target for the scope 3 emission, we also giving them the target to reduce their emissions reduction. So it's just like balancing our target to them.
Just adding to what Anubhav said, when you talk about scope 3, right, scope 3 has 15 categories, right? 7 upstream and 8 downstream. So what you should be looking at is, within scope 3, what are the specific categories that you want to look at? Now typically supply chain would be looking at scope 3.1, which is, procured goods and services. Okay, so maybe you would want to look at that and see how you can find out solutions, technological solutions based on data to identify these different kinds of suppliers. Now that could be a potential opportunity for you. You could also be looking at commute, both employee commute and business commute, which is again within scope 3. So there could be opportunities for you to look at and see how you can upstream the solution and therefore the problem addressing, right? So when companies are deciding on employee commute options, okay, yes, you want EV, but are there more efficient ways to address it at a design stage where the office is located? What kind of people you're hiring and where do they stay? Okay, all of this, the basis of this is data. So think about these aspects and see how you can address some of these challenges, and then start talking to real companies to understand their level of willingness to share the data with you. Now, yes, data is important, but are companies willing to share? Are there other ways to get the data? Are there public data sets that you could use? So these are some of the areas that you need to be thinking about to understand how you can design solutions which are fit for purpose for the clients that you're looking at.
Thank you. That was, there's another question, but we'll take it up after the second panel. But thank you all. It's been very informative, very useful for me. Opened up my eyes to new things. Hopefully it was useful for everybody. Good luck to all the startups, and as corporates, I think I have some ideas to take back and see how we can internalize some of these findings. Thank you all.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.